28 years ago, a game was released to the world. The game was universally panned by critics and gamers alike. But they weren't paying attention. They couldn't see what was happening. And now it's come back to take revenge on a new generation.
That's right. Here it is 28 years after the release of the Friday the 13th game for the NES, and there's another game soon to be released for current-gen consoles, one that will be much closer to putting the player into the movies due to the advanced technology in the gaming industry today. And speaking of putting the player into the movies, there is also going to be another reboot of the film series. While the new game looks very promising, not much is known about the upcoming movie reboot yet, but fingers are crossed. Needless to say, 2017 is looking to be quite a year for all things Friday the 13th.
So let's take a look at where things all started for the game. And if you think the NES version of Friday the 13th is a bad game, then you obviously have not experienced the Commodore 64 version of the game. But that's a game for another time.
This game takes a lot of unnecessary flack right off the bat for being an LJN published game. While LJN didn't have the best track record, it's not fair to universally label all of their games as bad. I feel as though most people don't give Friday the 13th a good chance and simply brush it off as being a bad game just because it's an LJN game. But it actually did bring a lot to the table. For starters, it's surprisingly true to the movie series in a lot of aspects, and in some cases, dared to do what the movies didn't. That's not to say that it isn't without its faults, because it's definitely not a perfect game.
So let's explore the game a little further. Let's slice it open, rip it apart. It's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good.
As I mentioned earlier, the game is actually pretty accurate to the movies. It has the Camp Crystal Lake setting, the cabins, the counselors, the children, Jason, and even Mrs. Voorhees' decapitated head. But it doesn't stop there. It even goes as far to include items from the movies, such as Mrs. Voorhees' sweater, which was used by Ginny in the second movie to get inside Jason's head. A couple of the counselors are even named after counselors from the movies, such as Mark and Paul. The game also features day-to-night transitions that help capture the feel of the movies, as they tended to start during the day and end at night. It would have been much easier to have the game take place all at night, so this was a nice touch. The game also becomes more difficult during the night portion, as harder enemies spawn more often and helpful items appear less often. Jason himself also becomes more difficult to kill with each new day, and you'll have to kill him for 3 days in order to beat the game. That's not going to be easy though. He's killing me! Run, Debbie, run! Oh, he's killing me! He's killing me! I also mentioned that the game dared to do what the movies didn't. What did I mean by that? Killing children. That's right. Jason actually kills the little campers in this game, and it's your goal to stop him from killing all of them or the rest of the counselors. That's actually a pretty brave thing for a video game to do, especially at that time. True, you don't actually see Jason killing the kids, but the idea alone is something that most people would consider off limits. But hey, maybe it's a good thing that he kills the campers, because they're actually creepier than Jason in this game. Those little faceless monstrosities are the things of nightmares, especially how they just stand there in the dark.
Well, that's a lot of good stuff that gamers tend to overlook when talking about Friday the 13th for the NES. They tend to get caught up in the negative aspects of the game. So, let's explore what those aspects are in the bad.
The most obvious flaw the game has is its map system, and this is the one that the majority of people complain about. The problem is that the map itself is like any generic map that shows locations in all directions. However, the player can only move left and right on the screen, occasionally coming across a path that allows them to move up or down to another screen. Eventually, the player gets to a point where the direction they're traveling in on the screen is the opposite of the direction that they're traveling in on the map. Other side-scrolling games have used similar map systems without this sort of disorienting problem, so there's really no defending it. There are also a couple of instances in the game where the map actually isn't a problem, and that's when the player is either in the woods or in the cave. The reason the map isn't a problem in these locations is because they're fixed locations on the map and don't change until you exit them. Of course, this creates a new problem as these two locations are very maze-like and it's easy to get lost in them, and if Jason is busy killing the kids and counselors while you're lost in the woods or cave, you're going to start to get frustrated. Finally, the lake itself is kind of a pain. A lot of times it takes a while to travel to when you're trying to get to the cabins, and oftentimes you'll take unavoidable damage from Jason as you're rowing the boat on the lake. Seriously, he just comes zooming by like a speedboat and takes a chunk of your health. There's literally no way to avoid it. That's why many players groan when they see one of the lake cabins flashing on the map.
Well, for a game that takes so much negative criticism, there's bound to be something really ugly about it, right? Yeah, it's time for the ugly.
You came here expecting more beating of an already dead horse, didn't you? Well, here's the twist. The ugly for Friday the 13th for the NES is the negative criticism itself. All too often, people will blindly follow popular opinion or not give a game a fair chance because of what they've heard. And this keeps happening until the opinion becomes deafening, which is sadly what has happened with this game and other LJN published games. My goal for this review is not to convince others that this is a good game. I think that it's a good game, and that's my opinion, but I came to that opinion by actually playing it and giving it a chance. No, my goal for this review is to change the way people see things. Think for yourself. Don't just blindly follow what others have said simply because it's the popular opinion. If you blindly follow popular opinion, you could be cheating yourself out of something you might actually enjoy.
So that's all for this retro review, and you might think that I overlooked the music of the game, but really I didn't. I kind of thought about it, and I actually like the music a lot, but I can see where people would say that it's repetitive, and since it could be considered a good and a bad thing, rather than including it in the good or the bad, I just let it more or less cancel itself out. So that's why I didn't mention it in either of those categories. But I thought today's game review of Friday the 13th was just had to be done. I mean, it is Friday the 13th, and this is going to be a year with a lot of Friday the 13th things happening as far as like a new game and a new movie in the franchise. So I think it had to be done. It was just the right timing. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. Have a great day. A great day. Have a great day. Jason's behind you! He's not really, sorry. Did I make you jump? That was stupid. I'm sorry. Have a great day. Oogity boogity! It's so scary! It's like telling a campfire tale or something, but it's not. It's just me sitting in a dark room with a flashlight held up to my face. So scary! Oh, I'm so spooky! Boom, motherfucker! Boom!